Smoke filled the broken hallway. Sparks jumped from broken lights. The air smelled of burnt metal and plasma. Mark, a human soldier in black armor, led his team through the ruined alien outpost. His boots crunched over shattered glass and bones. "This place was hit hard," whispered Jordan, his second in command. Mark didn't answer. His eyes scanned the room with care. His mission was clear: rescue any survivors. But the building looked more like a tomb. They moved deeper, past scorched walls and ruined machines. Then a sound stopped them. A voice, soft, weak, coming from behind a steel door. Mark raised his hand, signaling silence. Slowly, he moved to the door and placed his ear against it. The voice came again, trembling. "Help, please." With a nod, Mark drew his sidearm. Jordan placed a charge on the lock and stepped back. A flash, a bang, and the door swung open. Inside, the room was dark and cold. Chains hung from the walls. And in the center, lit by a flickering red light, knelt a girl. She wasn't human. Tall and slender, with glowing purple eyes and soft gray skin, she looked barely older than 20. Her long silver hair was messy, and bruises covered her arms. Heavy chains held her wrists to the floor. She looked up and froze when she saw Mark. "Don't," she whispered. "Please don't touch me." Mark lowered his weapon and stepped closer. "We're here to help." She shook her head. "If you touch me, my mate will kill you." Jordan frowned. "Mate?" Mark held up a hand to stop him. He looked at the girl. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Lyra?" Mark took a breath. "Lyra, we're not your enemies." "Who did this to you?" She looked down. "My people. I disobeyed. My mate locked me here. He said I was his. No one else could look at me, not even myself." Mark felt anger rise in his chest. This wasn't just war, it was slavery. "You're not a thing, Lyra," he said softly. "You're coming with us?" "No." She pulled at her chains. "He'll come. He'll find you. He'll kill you all." Jordan glanced around. "Sir, we need to move. We're open out here." Mark stepped forward and knelt beside her. She didn't fight, but tears ran down her face. "I'm not leaving you here," Mark said. "No one gets left behind. Not on my watch." With one swing of his tool, he broke the chain. Lyra gasped. "He'll feel that," she whispered. "He'll know." Alarms suddenly began to beep. A red light blinked across Mark's visor. "Incoming signal. Enemy forces approaching. Move out." Mark shouted. Jordan helped Lyra stand. She could barely walk, but Mark supported her with care. As they rushed out of the room, Lyra turned to Mark. "You don't understand. He's not normal. He's bred for war, born to protect. And he will come." Mark looked back at her, his voice calm. "Then let him come." Outside, the skies rumbled. Something huge was entering the atmosphere. The ground shook beneath their feet. Lyra closed her eyes. "He's already here." Asterisk, the escape was rough. Mark's squad moved fast through the dead forest surrounding the alien facility. Lyra stumbled with every step, weak from captivity, but Mark stayed close, helping her stay on her feet. His team spread out in a triangle formation, scanning every tree, every shadow. The sky above had turned a dark red. "What's going on up there?" Jordan asked, checking his visor. "Dropship just entered orbit," said Nina, the team's tech. "Specialist. Big one. No ID. But it's not friendly." Mark looked at Lyra. She didn't need to say anything. Her face told the story. "It's him, isn't it?" Mark asked. Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, he's coming." "You should have left." "Me." Mark didn't answer. He scanned the forest ahead. "What exactly is he?" Lyra looked at the ground. "He is not like you." "Not like anyone." He was made by my people to be a guardian. Stronger, faster, smarter. I was chosen to bond with him. I refused. She touched her wrists where the metal had rubbed her skin raw. I said I wanted to choose my own path. He said my choice didn't matter. Jordan cursed under his breath. Great. A super soldier with anger issues. Lyra kept walking, her voice low. He doesn't feel anger or jealousy. He just follows his bond. If he believes I was touched by another, he will destroy. Mark glanced at her. Touched? You mean physically? She nodded. Jordan muttered. So if you fall and we catch you, he'll take that as a death sentence? Lyra closed her eyes. Yes. A cold silence spread across the team. Suddenly, a rumble shook the ground. A pulse of energy hit the trees, shaking leaves loose like a storm. The wind turned hot. The air hummed. He's near, Lyra whispered. He always moves alone. No ships, no signals, just him. Mark tapped his comms. All units, tighten formation. Move toward the ridge. If we reach the shuttle, we can lift before he catches up. They picked up speed. Mark noticed Lyra limping badly. Her leg was bleeding again. Without thinking, he reached out and helped support her. The moment his hand touched her waist, Lyra gasped. Shriek echoed across the forest, not from her, but from him. A low, terrifying roar shook the trees. It wasn't just loud, it carried power, like it traveled through the bones. What was that? Jordan shouted. Lyra looked at Mark in horror. He knows. More roars followed. Birds fled the sky. Branches cracked far behind them. And then they saw it. A giant figure, moving through the trees. Not running, stalking. Like a predator. Nina's scanner beeped wildly. 9 feet tall. Heat signatures off the charts. Speed ... impossible. That's him. Mark helped Lyra over a fallen tree. You said he doesn't get angry, Mark said. Lyra looked at him, breath shaking. He isn't angry. He's just coming to finish the job. The team reached the ridge. Their ship, a small black transport, was visible below in a clearing. They started down fast. Suddenly, boom, the ridge behind them exploded in dust and rock. The Guardian had jumped. Landed like thunder. Mark turned and locked eyes with it. The alien Guardian was tall, muscular, and armored in black bio-armor that pulsed with glowing lines. Its face was hidden behind a bone-white mask. Its fingers were long, clawed. It didn't breathe hard. It didn't rage. It just looked at Mark like he was already dead. And then it pointed a single finger at him. Lyra's voice cracked. He has marked you. Mark raised his weapon. The creature didn't move, yet the trees around him bent back like pushed by an invisible force. Mark stared, calm. Well, I guess we'll have to talk this out. Lyra grabbed his arm. No, with him there is no talking. Only survival. The Guardian finally took a step forward. Mark's heart pounded. He whispered into his comm. Everyone, get Lyra to the ship. Jordan replied, What about you? Mark stared at the creature and said one word. I'll buy. Time. Mark stood alone on the ridge. The others were already pulling Lyra toward the ship. She looked back, once eyes wide, heart torn, but Mark only gave her a nod. He wanted her safe. That was all that mattered now. The Guardian was still as stone, staring down at him from the edge of the trees. A red light blinked behind its white mask, scanning every inch of Mark's body. Its black armor made no sound, no movement until it stepped forward. Boom. The ground cracked beneath its feet. Mark raised his weapon. You don't have to do this. The Guardian said nothing. Instead, it reached behind its back and drew a long blade made of pure plasma, glowing white, humming with deadly energy. Mark sighed. Of course you brought a sword. Then the Guardian moved. Faster than Mark's eyes could follow Dot in 1 second, it crossed 20 feet. Mark barely jumped to the side, dodging the first slash by a breath. The ground exploded where the blade struck, throwing dirt and fire into the air. He rolled, fired his rifle point blank, but the plasma rounds bounced off the Guardians. Just like sparks off metal. Dot, this thing wasn't just strong. It was built to kill. Mark switched to his sidearm, aiming for joints, eyes, anything exposed. He managed a shot to the leg joint and saw the armor flicker, but the Guardian didn't even grunt. Instead, it turned and slammed its fist into Mark's chest. The force sent him flying backward into a tree. Pain exploded through his ribs. He coughed, tasted blood, but he didn't fall. Mark stood back up slow, breathing hard. That all you've got? The Guardian tilted its head, curious. Then it reached up and removed its mask. Mark froze. The face beneath was scarred but striking. Dark eyes glowed faintly. It was beautiful but terrifying. Alien, yet almost human. Cold, calm, calculated. You touched what was mine, the Guardian finally spoke. Its voice was deep, smooth yet sharp like a blade. Mark spat blood to the side. She's not yours. She's a person. She gets to choose. The Guardian stared at him. She was born for me, designed to bond. She chose disobedience. Mark shook his head. She chose freedom. A pause. Then the Guardian whispered, "Then I will remove her temptation." It moved again too fast. Mark barely blocked. The blade with a fallen metal shield. Sparks flew. The blade carved halfway through it. Mark kicked hard, hitting the Guardian in the chest. Nothing. The creature didn't flinch, but Mark didn't stop. He used the moment to throw a grenade, diving away just before it exploded. The blast lit up the sky. Smoke covered the ridge. In that moment of confusion, Mark bolted toward the ship. He ran full speed, lungs burning, every part of him aching. Behind him, the Guardian's roar shook the trees again. From the shuttle ramp, Jordan waved. "Move, move! He's right behind you." Mark stumbled onto the ramp, just as the ship's engines roared to life. The Guardian emerged from the smoke sprinting. Toward them. Mark turned. "Close the hatch." "No!" Lyra suddenly stood in the doorway. She looked at the Guardian and at Mark. "I can stop him." Mark grabbed her hand. "No, you'll die." Her voice trembled. "He was bonded to me, but I never bonded back. That means I still have control, just a little." Jordan shouted from the cockpit, 15 seconds to lift." Lyra stepped outside, just enough to be seen. She raised her hand. The Guardian stopped mid-sprint. Lyra closed her eyes. "I release you," she said. "You are free." A Guardian froze. Then something unexpected happened. It fell to its knees. It dropped the blade. Its glowing eyes dimmed. The power inside. It stopped. Mark pulled her back into the ship as the ramp shut. The shuttle lifted into the sky, the ridge, fading below. Everyone was silent. Lyra leaned against the wall, weak but alive. Mark looked at her, confused. "What happened?" She whispered, "He wasn't just bonded to me. He was powered by it. Once I let go, he had nothing left." Mark sat down beside her. "You saved me." She smiled weakly. "No, you saved me first." Outside, the stars grew brighter as they rose toward orbit, but no one said a word, for they knew. This wasn't over yet. The shuttle flew quietly. Through the clouds. Inside, the team sat in silence. The battle was over, but the weight of it still hung in the air. Mark sat across from Lyra. Her silver hair was messy, and dried blood marked her arms. But her eyes, those glowing purple eyes, held strength. A strength even her captor hadn't broken. Jordan broke the silence. "So? That thing really shut down because you told it to?" Lyra nodded slowly. He wasn't fully alive, not. Like you or me, he was created to protect me. Built from flesh, machine, and code. But the moment I said he was free, his purpose ended. Nina looked at her with awe. And you had that power the whole time? Lyra looked down. I was afraid. He was a part of me once, I thought. Maybe I owed him something. But now I know ... I don't. Mark leaned forward. You don't owe anyone anything, Lyra. Not him. Not your people. You get to choose. Her eyes met his. There was silence between them, but it wasn't empty. It was full of emotion, questions, and something unspoken. The comms beeped. This is Command Base, came a voice. Status report? Jordan answered. Mission success. Target recovered. One hostile neutralized. There was a pause. Understood? Bring her in? The High Council wants to speak with her. Lyra's body tensed. No, please, not them. Mark frowned. Why? They're the ones who gave me to him, she whispered. They chose him, not me. They'll never forgive what I did. Jordan looked back. We can't say no to the Council. Mark stood up. We can say no to anyone who thinks she's property. Nina raised a brow. You really willing to fight the Council, Mark? He didn't blink. If I have to. The shuttle landed at Earth's orbit base, a giant floating station, lit by blue lights and guarded by tall white towers. Soldiers waited outside the docking bay. Officials in long robes stood behind them. As the ramp lowered, Lyra stepped behind Mark, nervous. He turned to her. You're not alone anymore. She nodded and walked beside him. An older human officer approached. We'll take the alien. Now, Mark didn't move. She's not an alien. Her name is Lyra, and she goes where she chooses. The officer's expression turned cold. She's part of an interspecies agreement. Her presence here is illegal. Before Mark could speak, Lyra stepped forward. I'll speak to the Council, but on one condition. The officer raised an eyebrow. And what would that be? She pointed at Mark. He stays beside me. Minutes later, they entered the high chamber where galactic leaders watched from hovering platforms. Alien faces glowed in the dark room, eyes full of judgment. Cold voices echoed. Lyra of House Vel, you broke the ancient bond, one of them said. She was claimed, another growled. She broke the pact. Lyra stood tall. No, I ended slavery. Gasps echoed around the room. She is dangerous, hissed one alien. She must return to her kind. Then a human councilman spoke. Mark, as squad leader, what do you suggest? Mark stepped forward. She is not a weapon, not a danger. She's a survivor. She deserves asylum, a chance to live freely. There was silence. Then, from the back, a deep voice spoke. She cannot escape the bond. Everyone turned. Standing in the doorway was the Guardian. He was alive, weaker, slower, but alive. The room filled with fear. Guards raised weapons. Lyra stepped back, but Mark placed himself in front of her. The Guardian didn't attack. He simply knelt. She is no longer mine, he said quietly. But I ask, to protect her still, not by law, but by choice. Lyra's eyes widened. The Council fell silent. The room had no words. Finally, the human speaker said, Let the girl decide. All eyes turned to Lyra. She stepped forward, her voice calm, strong. I choose Earth. She looked at Mark, and I choose him. The news of Lyra's choice spread across the galaxy faster than light. Alien networks flashed headlines. Claim bond broken by free will. Guardian surrenders to humanity's soldier. She chose Earth. And the stars are divided. On. Hundreds of worlds, people argued in council halls, marketplaces, and homes. Some praised her bravery. Others called her a traitor. A few feared what would happen next, because the bond once, thought unbreakable, was broken, and she had chosen a human. Back on the orbit station, Mark and Lyra stood on the balcony overlooking Earth. Lyra watched the planet turn slowly below blue. Green and alive. I never thought I'd see this world, she whispered. Mark leaned on the railing beside her. And now it's your home. She glanced at him. You're not afraid? Of what? He asked. That the galaxy might come for me. Or you. Mark smiled slightly. Let them try. She smiled too, but it didn't reach her eyes. Behind them, the Guardian, now without armor, wearing a plain robe, stood silently in the corner of the room. He had not left her side since the trial, but he did not speak unless spoken to. He was no longer her protector, just her shadow, and Lyra felt the weight of it. That night, the lights of the station dimmed. Quiet spread like a soft blanket. Lyra stood alone in the meditation chamber. Then, an alert sounded. The lights flickered. Mark entered the room, gun already drawn. What's happening? Jordan's voice came through the comm. Sir, we've got unknown ships dropping out of FTL 5, no 6, all from her homeworld. Mark turned to Lyra. She closed her eyes. They came for me. Alarms blared. Defense systems powered up. Pilots scrambled to fighters. Lyra stepped toward the window. In the distance, bright lights blinked in space, enemy ships forming a wall in the stars. Then a voice echoed through the station's speakers. It was deep, ancient, and full of command. Return the girl or face judgment. The council room called for emergency assembly. Mark and Lyra stood before the Earth delegates. They won't stop, one general said. She belongs to them. She doesn't belong to anyone, Mark snapped. Another alien diplomat growled. Your bond with her has caused chaos. Lyra stepped forward, her voice shaking but strong. You think I caused this? No, you did. By giving my life to someone, without asking what I wanted. She looked up at them. You fear what happens when someone like me chooses something different. The room was quiet. Then the old Guardian stepped forward. I am no longer bonded, he said slowly. But I still see, and I see that her future is not yours to decide. One general barked. Then are you ready to die for her? Mark stepped in. No, he said, but I'm ready to kill for her. Silence. The speaker looked at Lyra. Then choose one last time. Their fleet is waiting. If you stay, we may go to war. Lyra turned to Mark. If I stay, others might die. Mark's voice was low. If you go, you'll die inside. She took a deep breath, then looked up. I will not return. If they start a war, let the galaxy know why it began. Outside, the enemy ships began to charge weapons. Earth's defense grid locked on, and just when it seemed a war was moments away, something happened. The enemy ships powered down. Confused signals filled the air. Then one ship turned away. Then another. Within minutes, all 6 jumped back into FT Lagoon. Mark stared at the screen. What just happened? Lyra turned to the Guardian. He didn't move, but finally he spoke. I spoke to their minds. I told them the truth. Mark raised an eyebrow. You can do that? The Guardian looked at him. I was built to protect her. I still do. Just differently now. Later that night, Mark and Lyra sat in the quiet of the garden deck. Stars twinkled above. Below, Earth turned slowly in peace. You could have run, Mark said. But you didn't. I was tired of running, Lyra replied. And I had something worth staying for. Mark didn't answer right away, but his hand gently touched hers. And this time, she didn't flinch. Weeks had passed. The galaxy was still talking. Every broadcast, every council, every world debated the same question. What happens when someone breaks the ancient rules? And yet, here on Earth's orbit station, peace remained. Lyra walked freely through the wide glass corridors now. No chains. No guards. No fear. People stared, but with curiosity, not anger. A few smiled. Some nodded. She was no longer just the girl who belonged to another dot. She was becoming something new. A symbol. One evening, Mark waited for her in the hangar bay. He wore a dark jacket, now no armor, no rank. Just himself. Lyra arrived quietly, wearing Earth-made clothes. Simple, soft, comfortable. Mark smiled. You clean up well. She smiled back. You always say that. He nodded toward the small ship beside them. You sure you want to do this? Lyra looked at the vessel. It was built for short jumps, fast, small, and private. I need to go back to my people, she said. Not to beg. Not to apologize. But to show them who I am now. Mark's jaw tightened. It's dangerous, I know. He stepped closer. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not proving it for them, she said softly. I'm doing it for the girls still trapped like I was. For the ones who don't know they can choose. Mark paused, then handed her a small device. What is this? She asked. He smirked. It's a recall beacon. You push that button, and I'll come running. Lyra laughed gently. I believe. You. As she turned to board the ship, she saw a figure in the shadows. The Guardian, still alive, still watching, but no longer bound. He stepped forward, slowly. Lyra met his eyes. Are you here to stop me? She asked. He shook his head. I'm here to protect the girl who set me free. Lyra nodded once. And protect the ones after me. The Guardian placed his hand over his chest and turned away. The ship lifted gently, engines humming like wind. From the observation deck, Mark watched her go disappearing into the stars. But this time, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like trust. 2 months later, an encrypted message arrived at Earth Command. Mark was called to the briefing room. He entered, expecting orders, but saw only a single screen. Lyra's face appeared. Her eyes were calm. Her lips carried a smile. But behind her was a storm alien ships, shouting in the background, people running. I said I'd go back and speak, her voice said. I didn't say they'd listen. Then her expression turned fierce. But I'm not leaving until they hear me. The video flickered. Static rose. Then one final sentence. I know what I'm doing. I've made my choice. And this time, no one takes it from me. Mark stood frozen, and then, without a word, turned and walked out of the room. Hours later, a Black Earth warship launched into space. Silent, fast, unstoppable. Inside, it was Mark. He didn't need orders. He had a promise. To keep. Asterisk.